She thought she was canceling a wedding. She had no idea she was actually filing for divorce. Picture this: Valentine's Day, 6 months before the biggest day of your life, and the person you've built everything with, the house, the dogs, the joint accounts, the future, sits across from you and confesses to hiding $17,000 in credit card debt. The wedding gets called off. The venue check gets stopped. And then, while trying to sort out a simple tax credit on their solar panels, they walk into an H&R Block and discover something that flips the entire situation completely upside down. They were already married, legally, and neither of them knew it. This story was shared by a 26-year-old woman on Reddit, and within hours it was everywhere, because it touches on something that is both deeply personal and surprisingly common in ways most people never think about. Financial betrayal, the end of an engagement, and then a legal twist that nobody saw coming. Let's break down exactly what happened, what it means legally, and what every single person watching this needs to know before it happens to them. So let's set the scene properly, because the context here matters enormously. This couple had been together for 7 years. 7 years. They bought a house together 3 years ago, have 2 dogs, share joint bank accounts, joint credit cards, are on each other's phone plans and insurance. By almost every measure, they were already living like a married couple. Finances were split 50-50, and the woman in this story, someone who had been financially independent since the age of 17, managed all of it. She was meticulous. She cared deeply about money because she had to. Nobody handed her anything. She built her financial life from scratch, and she was proud of that. When her partner proposed in May of 2025, they sat down and did the math together. They figured out exactly how much each of them needed to save every single paycheck to pull off the big wedding they had always envisioned. And to his credit, he never missed a single deposit into that wedding fund. Not once. From the outside, it looked like they were a team. She had already sent a non-refundable $10,000 check to the venue. Before she did, she gave him an out. She said, "Look, we can skip the big wedding, we can elope. This is our last chance to change course." He said no. He wanted the big wedding, so she sent the check. But something was nagging at her. She could see that even with their savings, they were going to come up $2,000 or $3,000 short by August. She didn't want to go into debt for a single day. So she asked him, given that he works on commission, whether he could throw in a little extra during a good sales month to cover the gap. He hesitated, and that hesitation cost him everything. She asked directly, "Are you hiding something from me financially?" And he broke. He sat there and told her that he had accumulated $17,000 in credit card debt on a personal credit card she didn't know about. 3 years of debt. 3 years of her asking if he had paid off his balance, and 3 years of him saying yes. Lies stacked on top of lies, and underneath all of them, a man who, as she later discovered, had a deep-seated pattern of lying to avoid conflict and keep people happy in the moment. She was devastated, not just because of the money, but because of what the money represented. Every time she asked, every time he looked her in the eye and said, "Yes, I paid it off." Those were lies, deliberate, sustained, repeated lies from someone she was about to legally bind her life to. She didn't blow up the relationship overnight. She's thoughtful. She agreed to couples therapy. She stayed in the house. She held space for the possibility that this could be worked through, even as she was completely clear that she didn't know if she wanted this anymore. She was in limbo, and she owned that. They managed to stop the venue check before it was cashed. The wedding was officially canceled. And then tax season arrived. 3 years earlier, when they bought the house, they had also installed solar panels. There was a federal tax credit available for that, and they had never properly claimed it. So they made an appointment at H&R Block to see what they could recover. Routine stuff. Financial housekeeping during an already painful season of their lives. And that's where everything changed again. Here is where this story enters legal territory that most people simply do not know about. And this is the part that has attorneys all over Texas paying close attention. Texas is one of a small number of states in the United States that still recognizes what is called a common law marriage. Now, a lot of people have heard the term, but most people don't actually understand what it means legally or how easy it is to accidentally qualify for one. In Texas, a common law marriage, also called an informal marriage, can be established without a ceremony, without a license, and without anyone officiating anything. Under Texas Family Code Section 2.401, a common law marriage exists if three elements are all present at the same time. First, the couple agrees to be married. Second, they live together in Texas as spouses. Third, they represent themselves to others as married. Now here's where it gets complicated for this couple. They had been together 7 years. They lived together. They owned a home together. They shared finances. They were on each other's insurance plans. They referred to each other in paperwork, in conversation, potentially in tax documents, as partners in a shared household. And critically, they had a mortgage together, which in many cases involves signing documents that describe your relationship and your shared financial obligations. When they sat down with the tax professional and started going through their documentation, the house, the solar panels, the joint accounts, the years of shared filing, the picture that emerged was one that the tax preparer apparently flagged immediately. Based on the way their financial lives were structured and documented, there was a serious legal question about whether they had already established a common law marriage in the eyes of Texas law. This means that when she called off the wedding, she may not have been calling off a future legal union. She may have been walking away from an existing one, and walking away from an existing marriage in Texas isn't as simple as returning the ring. That requires a divorce. Let that sink in for a moment. She went in to talk about solar panel tax credits and walked out needing to potentially consult a family law attorney about whether she was already a legally married woman who needed to file for divorce from a man she wasn't even sure she wanted to stay with. The legal implications here are significant. In a common law marriage in Texas, the same rules apply as a formal marriage when it comes to dissolution. That means community property laws kick in. That means any debt accumulated during the marriage, and yes, that could include his $17,000 in credit card debt, may be treated differently than it would be between two unmarried cohabitants. That means she may have legal obligations and legal rights she had no idea she possessed. She shared this story online specifically because she said, and I love this phrasing, that her life had turned into a Reddit story. But underneath the dark humor is something genuinely important that this community needs to hear. So what do you take away from all of this? First, if you live in a state that recognizes common law marriage, and there are about a dozen of them, including Texas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire in limited circumstances, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Utah, and Washington, D.C., you need to understand what those laws actually say. Living with someone long-term, sharing finances, owning property together, and presenting yourselves as a couple can have legal consequences you never intended to create. Second, financial transparency in a relationship is not optional. It is foundational. The betrayal in this story wasn't just about money. It was about a years-long pattern of deception that eroded trust in every direction. Before you combine finances with anyone, before you co-sign a mortgage, before you open a joint account, before you merge your financial life with another person's, you need full visibility into their financial picture. Pull credit reports together. Have the conversation about debt explicitly and regularly. Make it normal to talk about money, because silence is where debt and resentment grow. Third, if you are in a long-term cohabiting relationship and you are not sure of your legal status, consult a family law attorney in your state. It doesn't have to be expensive. Many attorneys offer a free or low-cost initial consultation, and the cost of that 1-hour conversation is nothing compared to the cost of discovering years later that you have legal entanglements you didn't know existed. And finally, if you ever find yourself at a crossroads like this woman did, where betrayal and legal complexity and raw emotion are all hitting you at the same time, slow down. Get professional help. Not just couples therapy, not just a tax preparer. Talk to a lawyer. Know your rights before you make any decisions, because what you don't know genuinely can hurt you. If this happened to you, Or if you are in a long-term relationship and you're not sure where you actually stand legally, share this video with your partner. Start the conversation. Ask the uncomfortable questions now, because the alternative is walking into an H&R Block thinking you're there about solar panels and walking out with a divorce attorney's number. And if you want more stories like this one, real situations with real legal stakes broken down in plain language, subscribe. New videos go up every week, and this community is built for people who want to understand how the law actually works in the real moments of real life.